Today, we're going on a scavenger hunt. Not just any scavenger hunt, we're gonna be digging through my house and finding lots of hidden dangers that could pose a real threat to my Doberman Arlo here. Not just to harm him, but even potentially kill him. These are really common things that could be in any household. So why don't you join us, because you might find a few things that you might have lurking around your house too. So come on, let's get going. So the list we come up with today, guys, it's not going to be an all-inclusive list by any means, but it should contain the most common dangers that are likely to show up in a typical household and maybe your own. So this list that we come up with should really help out with your own Dobie danger scavenger hunt, should you choose to do one in your house. Come on, let's see what we can find. Come on, Arlo. Let's take a look and see what we got in this old shed here. Oh yeah. We got old pool chemicals and hot tub chemicals. Now, those things, when they're diluted down enough, like they're actually in your pool water, for example, like chlorine, can be fairly safe. But when they're in concentrated form like this, they can be very deadly. I mean, I got old chemicals I haven't touched in years. These things can be very hazardous, even kill your dog. They can cause ulcers and all types of problems all through the stomach and the digestive tract. So we definitely got to keep these locked up. Let's go. Come on, buddy. All right, we're in my garage here, and there's something here I think we should take a look at. Ah, see, look, he smells it already. It's a roach trap. Now, these things a lot of times are, look at that. He can really smell these things. These have a very specific scent to them that attracts dogs, and they eat them all the time. A lot of times the chemicals can be toxic, but they can be non-toxic as well. But even when they're non-toxic, it can present a definite choking hazard. Snail bait, slug bait, fly poison, all that stuff can also be harmful as well. So make sure that these are off the ground. You can see how into this he already is. He must be getting a whiff of it. Let's get it out of here. Up next is grout, just regular old grout, this stuff right here in between your tile. Now, usually the stuff that they use to seal grout with is more often than not non-toxic as of recent years. But in the past, it has been toxic with some harsh chemicals, including some alkaline products in there that can cause stomach upset in dogs. Usually it's just a mild stomach upset, but sometimes it can be more serious than that. But you want to pay attention to what kind of sealer is used if you have grout cleaning and that kind of thing. Make sure it's something non-toxic. Let's keep going. Come on, Arlo. Okay, up next, we're looking for some bleach. Any bleach products you have, keep it away from your dog, especially concentrated bleach. Some of the diluted down stuff isn't as big a deal, but it's just a good practice to keep all those cleaners up high or away from your dog, somewhere where they can't get to them. We're in my laundry room because the next thing we're looking for is fabric softener. And these things have a lot of chemicals on them, which may not be very good for your dog. And on top of that, if they eat a bunch of these, which some of them seem to be attracted to, then it can create a really nasty intestinal blockage, which could cost big bucks to fix. So you definitely want to keep these out of reach of your dog as well. Whew, well, I'm up here crawling around in my attic looking for rodent poison. A lot of times you'll find this stuff in an attic or crawl space or somewhere like that. And this stuff it's the next one on our list, and it's very deadly to dogs. A lot of times it has animal attractants of different types built into it to attract mice or rats to the poison. But the downside is this can also often attract your dog. So, and even with a small amount being poisonous and even potentially deadly to your dog, it is a scary concept. I've looked all over my attic and I can't find any anywhere. And you gotta be careful too, because just because you didn't put any there doesn't mean the last owner didn't. So, but luckily, you need to climb a ladder to get up here, and I don't think Arlo can climb ladders, at least not yet. Okay, we're back in my garage because the next thing on my list is fertilizers. And I know I have a bag, well, this may not be fertilizer, but I have a bag of some planting mix and different things around here. So these things, especially fertilizer and some of the other chemicals used in gardening, is important to keep put away because they can have phosphorus and nitrogen in them and weed killers and insect repellent chemicals and all types of stuff. So it's good to keep those, especially off a ground floor like this was. We're back in the laundry room because the next one on our list is laundry detergent. This stuff is chock full of chemicals. It can cause ulcers and all types of other problems in your dog. Definitely keep it away from them. All right, we're up here in the master bathroom, specifically kind of in my wife's area, because we're looking for the next one on the list, which is essential oils. Now, these kind of vary widely in toxicity. Some are really harmless, and other ones are very toxic and cause a lot of problems for your dog. Luckily for me, everyone that I can find in this house is up high, such as this one right here. And I think they're pretty well out of reach of Arlo. Arlo, come here, let's give it a shot. Up here. Stay. Yep, I think we're pretty good, although it's close. You're getting tall, buddy. Come on, let's go. Up next is another one you'll commonly find in your garage. It's paints, stains, and varnishes. These things can definitely be deadly. One of the big reasons is the ethanol content or ethyl alcohol content in a lot of these products, but you certainly want to keep these out of reach. Man, are you starting to feel like the garage is a little bit of a death trap? I know I am, because our next one is also out here, which is Antifreeze. This stuff is sweet to a dog. It'll attract them right in. They'll drink it right up. And as little as 5 tablespoons can be enough to kill a medium-sized dog, according to VetMD. So it's really important to keep this away from them. Come on, Arlo. You know, real quick, it's not an issue here, but De-icers is another one. It's usually kept in the garage also. I don't have any because this is California, but if you live somewhere where it snows a lot, then that could be a big issue as well. So make sure you have any De-icers put away. Okay, up next, something I have buried back in here, somewhere in the back. Vinegar. Now, a lot of people like to use vinegar in water solutions as kind of an alternate cleaner. That's a little bit easier with the chemicals, but vinegar in and of itself, especially when concentrated, is definitely an irritant for dogs. It can cause vomiting, diarrhea, pain, a whole lot of other issues. So it's good to keep this away from your dog as well. We'll get back to the scavenger hunt in 1 second, but I want to take a quick minute to talk about household plants that can be really poisonous to your dog. You may be surprised how many of these you have lurking around, not just inside your house, but also outside, like in the backyard or front yard or just anywhere on your property. It's really scary how common some of these are. So check these out. These are some things that you need to watch out for. As we go, we're going to throw each of these up on the list so you can have a running list of plants to watch out for. And here are some examples of some poisonous ones you might have. Up first is pothos plant, which is very common. You may have seen this plant in office buildings, but it's also inside of a lot of people's houses. Castro bean or castor oil plants. Hemlock plant can be poisonous. Bleeding heart. Tulips, another really common one, often given as a gift. Oleanders. English ivy, mostly this is seen outdoors, but these are around a lot too. Wisteria. Fruit trees can also be bad. Many ripe fruits are totally fine for your dog. In your backyard though, when you have a fruit tree, it could drop a lot of fruit that is either underripe, which could be dangerous, or it turns rotten on the ground and they could eat rotten fruit, which can be toxic to their system. Peace lilies. Rhubarb is also dangerous to dogs. Azalea. A bush called privet, which is actually just commonly used in hedges most often on a property. Chrysanthemum, which you might recognize. Larkspur. Flower bulbs, really just kind of any flower bulbs tend to be a little bit of an issue. And mushrooms too. If you can't identify the mushroom and you aren't certain that it's a safe type, then it could very well be poisonous for your dog. Those are some of the most common ones you'll see, but if you want a much more comprehensive list of over 400 plants that might be lurking around your house that could be toxic to your Doberman, take a look in the description down below. I'll leave a link to an ASPCA article which lists over 400 plants along with pictures of them to help you identify them. Okay, we've talked about poisonous chemicals and even some poisonous plants that you might have hanging around that could be harmful for your Doberman, but I think it's important that we take one last look around to make sure we're not missing anything that maybe doesn't fall into those categories. And one thing that comes to mind right away is poisonous foods. Foods that are fine for you and me that may not be so for your Doberman. One example, this is some leftover Halloween candy we have. There's a lot of chocolate and other things in here that's really not good for your dog. It's important to keep that away from them as well. And if you want to learn more about that, I actually did a video all about human foods that might be harmful to your dog. That should be popping up in the corner of your screen. Okay, up next is something at least I keep in my bathroom, and that is medicines. Flu medicines, cold medicines, even Tylenol, ibuprofen, over-the-counter stuff, prescription stuff, even veterinarian prescribed stuff is all things that you want to keep out of reach of your dog. It can be very dangerous. In fact, these are one of the most common things that dogs get into that can harm them. You can keep them locked up, or as I like to do, metal always works too. All right. You know what? I did forget one more in here. And that is cosmetics, hairspray fumes, also just any kind of makeup and that kind of thing. None of that should be consumed, can be dangerous. for your dog depending on what's in it. So definitely keep these away from your dog as well. Up next is electrical outlets. Now take a look at this one. This one always bothered me. This is Arlo's dog door, and look where this outlet is positioned. I did get these covers here to cover it up a little bit, which makes me feel a little bit better. But outlets can be a real deal because, especially if they start licking it and they get their saliva in there, and yes, I love you too. That could really be, you know, a shocking experience for them. Up next is glue. Now, glue can definitely be dangerous to your dog. In fact, the American Veterinary Medical Association says that consuming glue by your dog is not only dangerous, but it can actually expand in volume. It collects stuff, I guess, inside the stomach, and it can be 4 to 8 times the original volume of glue that was consumed, create a serious firm mass inside of your dog. That is definitely dangerous. So glue might have been fun for your kindergarten years, but keep it away from your dog. Up next on our list is sunscreen. Now, sunscreen certainly comes in a whole lot more natural choices than there used to be, but unless you want to go reading each and individual ingredient on any sunscreen you get, it's a good idea just to keep them all away from your dog. Next up is really anything that's small and chokeable that your dog could swallow and cause a problem on the inside. Things like toys in a kid's playroom, for example. Anything they could get their hands on and want to swallow. Lucky for me, there's nothing like that in this house. Okay, so there are a lot of dangers and a lot of poisonous things your dog could ingest that could cause a lot of problems, but which are kind of the most common? Which should you really focus on that might be the most deadly to your dog? It's a hard question to answer, but the ASPCA's Animal Poison Control Center does release statistics on the most common calls they get, and their statistics for 2020 shed a really interesting light on what happens the most frequently to these dogs. So it could tell you what to focus on. That's what this information is based off of on this graph here. Now, the most common call they get is about food items, human food that they ingest, such as grapes, raisins, onions, garlic, xylitol, an artificial sweetener. All these things can be really poisonous to your dog. Chocolate was a big one, especially around the holidays. That accounted for 23.1% of every call they got. The next one was over-the-counter medications, simple things that are prescribed to you and me, to us humans, that they can get into in, well, not prescribed, excuse me, this is over-the-counter, so like aspirin, ibuprofen, cold medicines, that kind of thing, even certain herbal supplements and essential oils. The next one is human prescribed medications. These are the prescription ones, 17.5% of all cases, and these can be really deadly to your dog as well. Veterinary medications accounted for 9.3% of all cases. You know, a lot of them have attractant qualities that make them more palatable to dogs, which can be kind of scary if they get into them when they shouldn't. Also, household items were about 7.3% of all cases, including things like antifreeze, paint and cleaning products, all those scary chemicals. Rodent poison, 6.3% of all cases. Insecticide was 6.2%, about the same. Plants accounted for 5.5% of all cases reported to them. And that's indoor and outdoor plants. And this seemed to definitely have a higher likelihood during around Easter season. Garden products was another one, and that accounted for 2.3% of all cases, and many of them included a fertilizer as one of the common ones. Now, another one that didn't make the list is marijuana and CBD products, which apparently is quickly gaining popularity on the items that are reported to the ASPCA. So especially edibles, those seem to be really attractive to the dogs as well. So that's something else to keep in mind as well. Guys, if you think your animal has ingested something poisonous, you should definitely contact an emergency veterinarian clinic near you, or you can call the ASPCA's Animal Poison Control Center at 1-888-426-4435. They're a service that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week here in the US, and you can get advice there on what you should do. Thank you so much for watching my adventures today with Arlo. I really appreciate it. Please have a look at the resources down available for you in the description of this video. You might find them extremely helpful for you and your Doberman. And before you take off, if you'd please hit that subscribe button, I'd really appreciate it. It would help me to keep having these really fun adventures with Arlo. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.